And right now, the language in code is such that we cannot, but we are working with counsel from the city to see what language we could include that would make it acceptable. It doesn't appear that it is insurmountable. It's just that current code says that whatever trees are banked have to be put on city property or in a city park. And so we're trying to see if we could sell trees or if we could, place them on private property instead of public property in the city.
Okay, thank you.
Did she give any time frame about?
She's already working on it, so I think that it will be certainly by our next meeting. We should have some possibility. And if we think that we can move forward, then we'll work with Chris Fall to see if we can amend language.
Okay, maintenance of tree canopy. What I did was attach to the minutes all the tree site information that we've accumulated over the last few years.
Great.
So that's in there, and I think this format is a starting point. It obviously is an extensive list. There are a lot of places we could plant trees, and there's yet more places that haven't even been assessed for this. But we've got it documented, and it'll be attached to the minutes of the previous meeting.
The ones that I see here on the first one, done in 2013,
Yep.
are much different than the ones that I did most recently for the same streets.
And it may well be that yours is a better listing for those streets than the one that we've got, yes.
But why would there be such a difference?
Well, it's different people looking. That will be the answer, because you can. It depends how you look at these sites. I mean, the one thing I didn't do when I was looking at mine was determine where the right of way was, or make even an estimate. I just said, well, there's no tree there, and it's close to where the street is, so why not plant trees there? But yeah, those issues have to be reconciled eventually, because you wouldn't go forward with this.
So we maybe ought to come up with a criteria that we all agree to. Is what I
well,
was thinking.
Yeah, but the criteria is that the space has got to be available in the right of way. And I think we would delay things too much if we tried to find the rights of way before we go out looking for places.
Right.
It's easier to look for places and then see how we can use what right of way there is. Because the other thing we like to do is at least inform the people that we're going to be planting a tree there, to see if we've got some encouragement that they're going to help with the maintenance of that tree, certainly in its early years. And so this is very much just a prospective list of places where we might place them.
David, I have a question about budget. So we'll have the trees from the tree bank with Menards, but we will need funds to plant and maintain the trees, and we have spent this year's budget. At what point do we go back to the city and request next year's budget? I was thinking that the next planting cycle could be spring, depending on the site. We might risk a spring planting of trees rather than waiting until fall. So would it make sense for us to try and get a budget sooner rather than later?
Well, yeah. We need this budget. We now know what it's going to cost, or we think we know what it's going to cost per tree.
Right.
We need to think about how many trees we would like to plant. We think it's possible to plant in the spring, but yes, you can plant trees in the spring, but they need to be maintained. I don't know whether the contractor is going to be able to maintain them, or whether that'll be an additional cost.
Yeah, the cost that we have right now is the assumption of fall planting with less water maintenance, so the price would, I'm sure, go up.
Yeah. So that may be something to ask Greenleaf as to what the price would be for planting in the spring and maintaining them across the summer, at least.
Okay.
if we found sites where the owner, the owner of the property where the tree is going to be sited, said, yes, I want a tree, and if if we can provide a gator bag, so that the owner just has to fill up that gator bag every 2 weeks, at some prescribed time, then a spring planting is feasible. But I think in a spot where we don't have any kind of assurance, follow through, it's going to be pretty expensive to.
I agree. It turns out that the city does have quite a few gator bags.
Oh, do they? Oh,
Yeah,
excellent.
they did discover a supply of them. Kevin was going to make sure that they're still usable, but I can ask him.
Yeah, Ron bought some a number of years ago.
So that could be a possibility.
Don't mention them to Anne, though. She doesn't like gator bags.
Oh, okay. But, so do we want to try and figure out how many trees we want to plant, and we should wait to ask for our budget until then? Or
No, we should just
should I approach the mayor and just say, or can we please have the same budget as last year?
My view on these things is you've got I think there were 3 elements to the plan, as I recall it. You've got to figure out the planting sites. You've got to figure out the maintenance of this, and then there was a third thing, and I'm missing it at the moment. But there were three elements to the plan. Well, we've got, I think now, enough sites documented as potential sites that we still have to go to and check out in more detail and so on. But now it's a case of how do we maintain trees, because and it's not just the planting of them. It's the long-term maintenance, because what we're talking about here is planting a tree in the spring or planting a tree in the fall. We've got many trees that need crown lifting. They need the critical pruning to get them above the street level and growing as proper trees, clear of people and vehicles.
So, yeah, and that, would we consider that an additional budget ask, or?
Well, I think of that as maintenance, whereas what we were just talking about before, that's the planting of the trees, and maybe that is the differentiation, that we've identified the sites. We then need a budget for planting trees, and then we need a budget for maintaining the trees.
Yeah. The reason why I'm sort of pushing is that the city has access to CARES money for just a little bit longer, and I'd like to get in on that, because planting of trees does fall within city beautification and CARES.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So.
But my thoughts were, if you could plant another 30 in the spring and another 30 in the fall, that would be a good number. I mean, I'm not sure we could handle many more than that in terms of just identifying sites and making all the arrangements. Because basically, what we've done in the past is, once we've identified a site and we've really got a tree headed towards there, not only do we check it's in the right of way, we then the city sends a letter to the owner, just alerting them to the fact that we're planning to plant a tree. We don't ask them to consent to it, but we tell them it's going to happen, so that if they've got a real objection to it, hopefully they will then respond to the person named in the letter.
And also, they might actually adopt the tree, allowing us less maintenance.
Where does that enter? Where do you try to get their input and their buy-in?
Well, in this letter, the city sends a letter telling them that the tree is going to be planted. And if they've got any questions or concern, they contact the person named in the letter. And that has been in the past. It was Ron Lucas, so presumably it will be Andrew Cheeky under these conditions.
But I mean, if the idea is that we want them to water and to watch over it.
Maybe we could amend the letter and
change this process.
We could change the letter. But I mean, I don't think it's not necessary that we have them water it. It'd be nice if they would. That's all. Because I think we have to take the responsibility of being able to maintain the trees. And that means having a budget that will allow for the planting and watering of the trees.
It means it probably isn't going to get done. That's what it means.
Because now the only maintenance that we can count on is if there looks like there's a hazard, then the city will come out and cut off a limb or cut the tree down or whatever. That's the only built-in. But do we have any money banked so far? Is there any money that's been paid to the city Because don't we get a
Part of the tree
portion of
banks,
that? No, nothing so
No.
far, okay.
Okay. Roxanne, do you want to mention the state RFP and the fact that we
Yeah.
don't think that we are eligible?
Yeah, so, there was an RFP, a request for proposals, that was brought to our attention. It's the Urban Canopy Restoration Grant Program, which is run by the Division of Forestry. And it would have been a great opportunity. The funding requests are in the range of $2,500 to $25,000. There's a match requirement. We could have used our trees in the tree bank. But when I read through the document, there were several criteria and documentation that they require that we just do not have at this point. And it is something that we will work towards. Community tree care ordinance, urban forest management master plan, people who have attended certain certifications and trainings. So I think that if they offer it again in the future, we'll probably be more qualified. But at this time, I don't think we can be competitive. We'll just lose too many points on required elements.
So who has those? Like larger cities, like Columbus and?
I think that larger cities do. Also, cities, I think, with larger master gardener groups. We have a fairly big master gardening group, but we're not quite as active in tree maintenance as some other cities are.
They're small, like, I went to the tree commission training, and it was held in Belpre, and they're very active, and it's amazing, a small town like that, the things that they do and that they're interested in doing. And I was really impressed, and I imagine there are lots of towns like that.
Yeah.
And we just happen not to be one of them yet.
And I think that, at different points in time, the city has had the staff that would have helped us qualify an urban forester or a certified arborist or, people who had done these trainings. But just recently, we no longer have those individuals. There's been turnover in landscaping, and hopefully we'll have that expertise again.
Well, the only plan that I've ever heard is we plan to plant to make up any tree that falls down. That seems to be the only plan that I've ever heard of.
Yeah, but it is something that we can do, and if we were serious about it, there are just so many cities that make their documentation available that we could easily go and just pick best practices that would suit us.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of whether or not we would prioritize that. But, I have to say, guys, you've done a lot this year. The fact that, we've reviewed plans, we were, getting the city to tighten up its code so that way we get trees from Menard for, the tree bank. It's a shame that we can't go after this opportunity and we can beat ourselves up for it.
It's really a good one.
But at the same time, I think that we have done a lot and we've really leveraged the CARES money that we were able to get from the city. So we should feel good about that.
And this gives us motivation to move on those other fronts.
I agree.
Okay.
It gives us a focus, too. That's good.
Is there anything else before we walk through the minutes?
What do you think that is?
Okay, so if we can move on to the minutes.
Could I
Sure.
pose another idea, and that is for sites that we have, we got the trees, we can order those from Menard, that we have some sort of program where people could plant a tree in memory of something, but they wouldn't have to pay for the tree, they'd just have to pay for the planting. And so that would be a program, because I know that there are some people who are going to plant a tree in my honor, but then that program never really got off the ground, so they could never do it. But if we could say, okay, here it is, and then, and now we have a figure for how much it costs to plant a tree, so that's a known quantity. And we could maybe get some trees planted that way, particularly if we got some publicity and,
I think that could be a really good idea. The city has allowed donations for trees, so there definitely is a precedent for bringing money into the city and allowing that. I guess we're just going to have to reach out and find out who has that language. I'm happy to reach out to Chris Nisley, because she was the one who told me about that program.
okay.
So I think that hopefully by the next meeting, Chris Fall will be back, and that she'll be able to attend our meetings, and we can begin to direct these kind of questions directly to her for her to find out. But for right now, I'll ask Chris Nisley.
Who's coming?
So Chris Fall is now our assigned
She's
person.
gonna, but that's only till she leaves.
Yes,
Till
and
January,
and then we will be assigned a replacement. But at least now we do have that position assigned to Shade Tree, so we will have that liaison.
Good.
Just to remind you, in the revised Title 37 Celebration Tree Program to plant celebratory trees on city property, the city will maintain a list of public planting sites and tree species to choose from for the program, and the city will have final say in species type and location. Application fee will be established by separate ordinance included in Title 1 of this code. The city will guarantee trees for the first 3 years. Okay, I haven't seen the fee. I don't know whether the fee is meant to include the price of the tree, but obviously if we've got a source of trees,
Yeah,
so there is something here, but
Yeah.
I don't know, again, I don't know what the mechanics are of how this thing would actually operate.
I'll reach out, because I know that they
Where is
actually
it?
used that procedure
37,
fairly
33.
recently,
Okay.
so
Yeah,
it should exist.
yeah. This is the new language in Title 37.
Oh, celebratory.
Yeah. Okay, so going into the minutes of the last meeting, just wanted to point out a couple of things that are now within these minutes as reference points. And the pollinator gardens form, for that form to really work, we're supposed to come up with a list of pollinator plants. I've noted in here one website that one of us had identified as a good website. In addition, there was a list, it's included in the minutes, from Nancy of plants. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to maintain all this lot, because as well as the list of pollinators, we need the list of invasive species. And again, various people have suggested various sources, and I've got the 3 that are in there.
I really like what Ann and Nancy did, though, is that they listed sites that are maintained because they are
Yeah.
national sites. And I think that's a smart thing for us to do, to rely
Okay.
on national sites.
I couldn't find that email.
Okay.
All I could find is emails involving Ohio sites.
Okay, then we
So-
probably
So
should.
if you can find it, send it to me, and we'll
Yeah.
add it to the
Okay.
minutes for this meeting. Yes.
Yes, okay, yeah, David, I
Yeah.
did have.
That was why I wanted to run over this, because I thought there was more than I was finding in my
Roxanne, are
notes.
you talking about national sites of invasive species?
For pollinators.
Oh, for pollinators. Okay.
For invasive species, there is a national site, but it's broken down by
There's
state.
an Ohio.
Yeah, I
there's
mean,
an Ohio.
that's what
And
that
that
list
should be
is.
in there.
Yeah.
Ohio has a thing.
Yes.
I mean, they're legal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Yeah.
So I was only talking about the national list for pollinators.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, all I've got is this one that is the prairienursery.com.
And that's a good one because it's Midwest
Yeah.
based.
But if there's
so-
others, then this is the opportunity to send them to me, and I'll put them in the minutes for this meeting.
Okay.
And then I was told by Chris Nisley that we should send this via an email and make sure that we copy Patty, who is responsible for updating the website. Patty
This-
Whitmer.
Oh yeah, that's the person I think I send the minutes to.
Yes.
Maybe we can get a kickback from Prairie Nursery.
Well,
I
that list
just-
isn't
yeah.
attached, right? It says it's attached, but it's not.
What is?
It says a list is attached to
Your,
these
your
minutes.
list is attached, that's that one there, isn't it?
That's the shrubs.
Okay. I thought that was the list that you'd come to, you'd established with, of pollinators.
There should be trees as well.
Ah, okay, so I'm missing a tree list. Okay, I shall have to hunt around.
The pollinator plants are actually herbaceous, not trees or shrubs.
The way that it's defined in code is inclusive.
Is what?
It's
It's
inclusive.
inclusive, it doesn't differentiate between trees, herbaceous, annuals.
You
But
can
I
have,
mean, we don't have, the only one here is the shrubs.
Right, and we should find the tree list, because there should be a corresponding tree list.
okay. Does somebody think they've sent it to me, or I'm missing it?
It was with us last time. We had it last time. How could it have gotten to? I should have brought my stuff along. I should have.
We'll make sure that you have an inclusive list.
Yeah. 'Cause-
And also, I feel like we can begin to build the website and have the form up and some guidance, you know, and then we can keep on adding as we find
Yes, that's a good
additional.
idea. Let's get it started.
Yeah, I'd like to get it started.
Well, that's what I was trying to use the minutes as a way to document what we've got, and so if there's stuff I'm missing, send it to me and I'll include it in the minutes of this meeting.
Okay.
That was why I wanted to particularly pay attention to these minutes, because there's a lot of stuff here.
Who maintains the web page?
The
So-
city.
Yeah, Patricia Whitman.
So where are we going to put this? I mean, it's going to be
So-
on the city government channel thing.
So we talked about that last time when David Riggs was here, and I thought it should go two places. I had suggested to go on Shade Tree Commission because we oversee that program now. But I think that there also should be a reference on the city webpage, because I think that's where most people are going to
Well,
go.
what we need is the documents and the original pieces being in one place, and then links across
Yes,
to them.
agreed.
So that
Yeah,
we
you don't
can
want to
maintain
update
them.
twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any additional questions or comments about the minutes of the last meeting?
No. You have language in there about the interpretation of, well, you list city code
Yes.
title. And I think that that language needs to stand. And if code or anybody else in the city has a different interpretation, that we need to have a discussion.
Yeah,
But
we do.
that's it.
Okay. Anyone like to propose approving of the minutes?
Yes, I'll
Thank you.
I'll go to approve.
Have a second?
I will second.
Thank you.
Just like last month.
Yeah, just like last time. Okay, any further discussion of the minutes? If not, is there any objection to approving the minutes? Hearing none, we have the minutes approved. The next meeting is October 14th. And with that, I think we are adjourned. Oh, hang on, what's that?
Could you explain to us why, at what point, well, what the reasoning is for us not going on Zoom if there's increased concern about the spread of the
Because
COVID?
as a public body, we have to meet in public.
Okay,
And the state has to give us authority to not meet in public.
okay.
And that authority that we did have went away, I believe, on the 1st of July.
Okay.
Now, I would say this, I mean, we're all sitting up here, but the way that the room and the cameras work is that we can also use that table over there, and no one should hesitate to do that. Ann did it last time, and that gives you additional social distancing. No one will be offended if that's what you choose to do.
Well, you know, and it's more than distancing, of course, it's the, in the air. This is an
Sure.
airborne kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can the city apply for that, or what?
No. No, I mean, the mayors could go to the governor and ask for it to be done again, but it's at that level that it has to be done. And in fact, I'm not even...
Can they lobby for that?
Yes, of course they can, yeah.
Could we ask them to lobby for that?
Well, the incidence, according to New York Times, is something like 1 in 50,000 or breakthrough. However, one of my neighbor's family all came down with it independently, as it turns out, presumably, but, you know, the three of the 4 people are down with it,
And I do understand, I mean, and 3 of us who I can see here are not retired and are on campus and are being exposed, potentially exposed at a higher rate because we work with student populations. I would say this as well. Shade Tree Commission, I think, values everybody's input, but we can function as long as we have a quorum. And if somebody feels that it is unsafe for them to participate at a particular point in time, they don't feel well that day. They feel like they've been exposed or they're afraid of being exposed. I think you should just reach out to David. We'll ensure we have a quorum and we move forward.
Yeah, and I would say also, if you'll know the agenda ahead of time. If there are particular concerns you've got or comments you want to make about it, then let me know ahead of time.
Okay.
And we can handle them that way.
Yeah,
Okay.
please, everybody,
Yeah.
do what you need to do
But
to be
Roxanne
safe.
is correct. We only need 3 of us
Okay, all right.
to make a decision.
Okay.
And I will certainly try and reach out if there are people who don't want to attend the meetings. Make sure that their voices are at least heard in the discussions.
Yeah.
By the way, where is David Riggs?
It wasn't needed tonight because there were no plans to discuss, I guess. Okay, are we ready to adjourn?
I am.